Hey everybody, Dr. Tom over the Active Healing Center. Welcome back to Mobility Monday. I am back on the floor, which means we're going to do another round of mobility for the hip. It's a critical area to how our body functions. Obviously, if we want to walk and move without problems, not only today, but for years to come, we need to make sure our hips are staying healthy. We have more and more people in this country going in for hip replacement surgeries, which means we need to get moving more. My goal is to help people stay away from that. So if you're having recurring problems in a specific area, let's go over that for a quick moment. If you have recurring problems, whether it's your hip, a knee, shoulders, your spine, and you're pretty proactive in your mobility work, your strength work, you're doing your stretching, you're doing your massage, your release work, and you're really consistent with it, but yet, the hip keeps coming back. You still keep getting that pain in there over and over and over again. Well, it's telling us that most likely you have imbalances going on elsewhere in your body. Let's say if it is the hip area, well, you probably have an imbalance in your pelvis, your lower spine. It's not structurally correct, it's not functionally correct, and that needs to get identified. That needs to be corrected in order for that imbalance. That imbalance needs to get fixed in order for that hip problem to start to alleviate. Again, you're doing these routines. Again, the way we work it here is I like to work that progression of 3. We're going to release the muscle tissue first. We're going to stretch it. Secondly, then we're going to add the mobility movement third. We do it for that reason, to reset the nervous system, to get your body to start to relearn, get that brain-body connection, relearn that motion, relearn how that joint and muscle is supposed to function in there. And there's where we're going to get the big results at the end of the day. So when we're looking at releasing, so let's go through those. I've done videos on this in the past, so if you're missing it, you can get onto our YouTube channel, Dr. Tom Gustafson. I have all these videos on there, so you can just look it up, or you can just send us a message if you want that information. We'll shoot you out the video. But releasing the soft tissue of the hip area, foam roller. Okay, we can foam roll the hip flexors. We can foam roll the glute tissue really well back in here. Foam rollers work great. I like the handheld instruments, these lateral leg muscles in here. The handhelds become really good tools. We can work the inner quad muscle. We can work the hamstrings with the handheld. I like the handheld a lot better for those areas. I like the foam roller for the hip flexors and the glutes. You can use the tennis ball or the peanut area to work the hamstring. So you can use all these tools. Some work a little better than others depending on the muscle tissue, and it's really somewhat dependent upon you and kind of just playing around with it a little bit. What do you get the best results with? Where do you feel which tools work the best? So you play around with it, but those are how we release into these tissues here. Again, set your timer. We're not looking to go crazy with this. A couple minutes in the area, and that's it. Get in, work it, and get out. The stretching aspect, we're going to stretch the hamstrings out. We're going to stretch the hip flexors out. We're going to stretch the lateral, come on, the glutes, the hip, lateral hip area. You can work the inner quads. We like stretching straps for this. You can do all these stretches standing if you wanted to. You can hit the hip flexors real well, hitting on your knees, working those positions. But the hip flexors, using a stretching strap becomes a really handy tool. But the big point I'll make here is with stretching, 30, 40 seconds. If it's a real tight area, you do it a couple times, 3 times to really work and release, get those muscle tissues to really release those muscle fibers to really get into a better position. And then we add our mobility movements, and that's what we're going to focus on here. So the 3 movements that we're going to work are your fire hydrants, your front hip circles, and your reverse hip circles. And the big point we're going to make here, so let's get into our tabletop position. And the first one is our fire hydrant. So we're in this position here, and we're just driving the hip outward. In this position here, just rotating, abducting the hip outward, rotating it. Nice, easy, fluid movement. So the big point of this is better to see in this position. When you're doing all these movements, in this position, if I drew a center line and put a rod right down through my skull, my spine, my pelvis, We want this to stay nice and centered. Your core, your abdominal muscles nice and tight, holding that foundation nice and solid here. And as we rotate, everything stays nice and centered and balanced, and we're not doing this. All right, this is a no-no. We would do that in order to create more motion. So what happens a lot of times is when we start somebody in this position and they have a lot of restriction in these areas, which many people do, that this is about all they can get. So they start driving more motion in here, cranking that other hip out, but that's not getting us anywhere at the end of the day. So even if you have to start the movement real small, well, that's where we're going to start. And then over time, doing this, we can create more and more motion in here. That's what we're looking for. The circles, forward hip circle, well, just like it sounds, we drive forward, rotate out. Drive forward, rotate out and back. Forward, rotate out and back. Again, looking at it from here, we're going to be forward, rotate out and back. Forward, rotate out and back. 10, 15, 20 times. The reverse of that, the reverse hip circle, well, we start backward, rotate forward. Start back, rotate it out and forward, out and forward. Nice and easy, 10, 15, 20 times. Again, stay nice and centered and balanced, and we're coming right through here. 10, 15, 20 times. Simple stuff, but point of it needs to be done consistently. Consistency trumps intensity. Let's get those done. Again, if you have recurring problems, that's what we're here to help with. Give us a call. Be glad to help you out, but make this a consistent part. Again, if you have hip, lower spine issues, make this part of your daily routine to build that motion in there. And there's where we're going to get our results. And if it's a recurring problem, give us a call. That's where we're here to help. We'll get that problem identified and get it fixed up for you so you can move on with your physical health. Take care.